Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the show after a few weeks off. I have been MIA traveling all around Europe pretty much. I was in Finland for a couple weeks and then followed up with some nice downtime in Spain and just got back late last week and will again be on the road later on this week as well. But it's good to be back in the locker room. Lauren, what have you been going on over here for the past few weeks?
Oh my gosh, had a lot going on. Everything from house renovations to where I'm at right now, which is in beautiful Lake Placid, New York. I'm coaching with Can-Am hockey right now for my second week, where we are working with like 130 to 150 young athletes who stay over at Northwood School, which is also like beautiful campus. We're on the ice 3 hours a day, at least. I'm on the ice for 5 because I coach more than one group. But it's good. It's really good. It's been awesome to see the camp evolve a little bit in the past couple of years. Can-Am's been around for decades, and they've been doing this camp for at least a decade. And they actually asked me to deliver kind of like a mental health, mental well-being talk to a couple of the groups last week. So that was exciting.
Awesome. And how did those talks go? Like, how did the kids take it in terms of like understanding all the content and like the value that it provided?
It's interesting. The first group that I did it with was our girls group. And we had girls in the group that were anywhere from 11 to 15. And we talked about confidence and mental well-being. And I think like you and I can both know that like in that age group, maybe not 11, but like anywhere from your teens, so that teenager age group, confidence is not necessarily a common trait in young women. So it was interesting getting to talk to them about it, and they certainly understand it. Not sure how much how much of it will land and stick, just because they're so in the thick of what other people think of me is so important.
Oh yeah, the social comparison at that age is absolutely crazy. Like I remember being that age, and like especially when you're on the ice too and you're seeing other players and their skill level and comparing it to yourself. And it's not easy to navigate on your own. So I'm happy to hear that you were able to sit and talk with them.
It was awesome. I hope that it landed. I know it landed with a couple people. And I was able to share my story. And I even had a couple of our counselors come up to me and say, like, thanks for, sharing your story. I had no idea that you could feel those things and still be successful in the sport. And I was like, yes, absolutely. You can.
Ask any elite athlete.
Yeah.
The amount of stories you hear about like people who feel like they're like not good enough to be playing at a certain level, and like it's just the conversation that you're having with yourself in your head, and it really does come back to like the outlets that you have and the support that you have from other people to be able to kind of work through and overcome a lot of those like limiting beliefs.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it. And today we're kind of talking about like women in coaching, women in hockey and executive front office positions, because there has been a lot happening in the news in the past like week and a half, 2 weeks. And it's absolutely amazing to see. I think it's inspiring for a lot of the younger generations. I know that we didn't really have those role models to visibly see, like working in the space, whether that is front office or coaching or just like professional sports in general. But, I've got a list here. I've got like six different names. I'm sure there's way more. We're just talking hockey. I know there's been a lot of movement. I think there was somebody named to be like the president of a franchise in the NFL. Maybe I'll have to look that up actually, but let's kick it off with the hockey here first. So First, we have the one and only Haley Wickenheiser, promoted to assistant GM for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Big congrats to her. I've actually been reading her book the past couple of weeks, and I had no idea that she was like in med school to be a doctor. Had no clue that that was a thing.
Really?
Yeah. She's like crazy. She's successful in everything she does. She's like relentless with everything as well. And like her journey overseas to like go and play in Finland in a men's league for a couple seasons, and like leaving her family back home and then coming back. It's a good book if anybody feels like giving it a read, but that's definitely the first one on the list here.
Yeah.
And then we have former goaltender. I'm going to ask you to pronounce her name because I know I'm going to butcher it.
Manon Rhéaume.
Manon Rhéaume.
There you go.
She has been hired by the LA Kings as hockey operations advisor with a specific focus on prospect development, which is amazing to hear. And for anybody that doesn't know, she is also the first and only female player to play in an NHL game.
Yep.
Doesn't happen.
Trailblazer her whole life, it seems like.
Yeah, no doubt. All of these women are.
Yeah.
And then we have Jessica Campbell, who was hired as the first female assistant coach in the AHL for the Coachella Valley Firebirds. And for those of you that don't know, she was also named the first female coach behind the bench for the men's IIHF World Championships this year for Team Germany. And she had an amazing debut from my understanding. I don't think I got around to watching any of those games, but always excited to cheer on fellow Canadians. So congratulations to Jessica. And quickly run through the next few here. So we have Kate Madigan, who has been promoted to assistant GM for the New Jersey Devils, and she is the first female in franchise history to be in an executive role. Emily Engel joined the Capitals, first full-time female video coach in the NHL. Lauren, you said that you worked with her a little bit, so I'm gonna give you the floor to kind of share some stories here.
Oh yeah, Emily, number one, is an unreal human being. She's also amazing at her job. Like, I have never had a better experience working with somebody in video. She is so passionate about what she does, and she's just elite at her job. It's like, I remember her putting together hype videos for us, and they were insane. Like, I actually, right before that was released, I was going to ask her to send one of ours from when I was playing there, just because I was curious to like watch it again. And then that was released, and I was like, oh, that girl definitely doesn't have time to do that. But no, she's an unreal human being, has a tripod dog named Hattrick, which is amazing. So he's got 3 legs.
Tripod dog. What?
Tripod dog. But yeah, and then to add to that list, it's not necessarily recent, but Blake Bolden is with the LA Kings as well as one of their scouts.
Yes, I actually did remember that. I came across her on LinkedIn today, actually.
Yeah.
Also another trailblazer.
Yeah, seriously.
And then we also have Megan Hunter, who was promoted to the assistant GM and hockey ops for the Chicago Blackhawks as well. So lots of movements for women in coaching and executive positions in hockey in the last couple of weeks. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot more in the next few weeks leading up to the season start.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so exciting to see that, first ever female kind of title being given out. And then one of the things that I loved, because the Coachella Valley Firebirds are a brand new program, they actually just announced her as the first ever assistant coach. They didn't put female in there. They just, hey, she's the assistant
really?
coach.
I didn't notice amazing. That is awesome.
Yeah, I think on their own platform, they said Jessica Campbell, first ever assistant coach for the program, which is pretty sick. It's always great to get that, like, the first ever female, but like
Mm-hmm.
she's an assistant coach.
Yeah, it doesn't matter like your gender or whatever you identify as. It's like you are the assistant coach and that's that.
Yeah.
Definitely love to hear that. You don't see it happen often enough, I don't think.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. But
I'm just,
I think it's, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No.
I was just going to say, like, I think it's amazing, right? We're seeing this in so many different areas. We can talk about it happening in the NHL and the AHL, and at the top levels of other sports, but we're also seeing it in youth hockey. So like a great example of that is even at this camp here in Can-Am, we haven't always had a girls group. We've had the girls group for the past few years, I would say, like maybe 5 to 10 years. And this year at camp, our female coaching staff, number one, the girls group had an all female coaching staff. And we were probably the most qualified coaching staff here, which is really exciting. We had myself and Megan Myers, who are coaching with Stonehill. So that's a Division I program. We had Liza Kelly, who has started 2 Division III programs and coached at Utica College, which is Division III. And then we had 2 female coaches from New England College. Who else do we have? And a couple other college level coaches, all coaching this one group of young female hockey players. It was amazing.
That's always amazing to hear. 100%. And now you just have me thinking like, okay, all of this movement has happened recently. Like, when do you think we're going to see the first full-time head coach for a hockey team in the NHL? Do you think it's going to be this season, in a couple seasons?
I think I give it a couple seasons. Right. I think that like it's still new, right? And I also don't know if there's going to be a lot of movement in head coaches in general.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really follow a lot of like the coaching positions in hockey too often.
Yeah,
that's my better half.
But I think it's certainly on the horizon. Like I think without question, it's going to happen.
Oh yeah, it's not a question of if, it's just a question of when.
When, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
so exciting. My God, I remember seeing that and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And the first one came in, and then the next day somebody had one, and then the next day I was like, oh my God.
And I think it's like, I mean, it's a long time coming for sure. Like there's so many qualified women to be coaching in these places and spaces already, or not just coaching, but being in the front office as well. I'm hoping to see it happen a little bit more like here in Europe too, like within the leagues here. I think it's going to take a little bit longer. I don't know. I don't see it happening as quickly, but maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea. But yeah, it would be nice to see like also more like women in coaching for women's sports as well, right? Like for me, I've only ever had one female coach growing up, and that was Stacy Monarch for the Stony Creek Junior Sabres. She was a godsend. She helped develop my career, so I was even able to be playing at the next level. Like she was amazing. And I think just, you know, young girls having role models for themselves, like whether that is coaching or playing or, you know, whatever it is that they desire to do. That could be like stepping into science for all I care, right? Like just having those role models to look up to and say like, one day I'm going to like be able to be at that place as well. And I think for me, like that's part of like why I do this podcast. That's why I wanted to start it, is to like support women in sports and to like share stories and have like their experiences be heard, so people realize like there's more than just what you see in the media, first of all. Because media doesn't cover a lot of the amazing things that happen and a lot of the amazing stories that people do have and the experiences they can share. So it's great to see
Yeah.
that there's more movement in this area.
Absolutely. I mean, when I think back on it, like I only had in my whole career 2 female coaches. And the first was Denise Brett in Windsor, Ontario, and she's the one who basically put college hockey on the map for me. She gave me a shot at playing the PWHL as a 14-year-old. Like, and really invested in me and kind of opened up a lot of doors. And then the second one was in college, Jackie Friesen, and she was now Jackie Crum. Was a former player at Wisconsin and joined the coaching staff. But I think there's truly something to be said for young girls and young women having a female role model to look up to.
Mm-hmm.
And as cheesy as it sounds, like the whole motto with the PWHPA was like, if you can see it, you can become it later on, right? And I think it's extremely true. Like, I didn't even have any awareness as to any kind of career in hockey before I had these women in my life coaching me. And then again, later on, when I was in grad school and I started helping out at a Division III team, we had almost an all-female coaching staff. We had one male who helped out on the D side, but there were 3 females on the coaching staff. And that was another thing where I was like, wow, like this happens, you can do it. And I don't know, it's just, we have such a, on the other side of it, like it's great to have those role models. But now that I'm not the player and I am a coach, you get to witness the community of it all. And it's so funny because this week with our girls camp, we had a theme and it was women supporting women. And the women in this community show up for each other. It's amazing. Whether it's just by building your network or putting different opportunities in front of you, opening doors, kind of giving you a little guidance, like it's unreal. I love it.
Oh, and that's been my experience too, right? And like, you know, we're both kind of starting out on this journey into coaching, not just, you know, from the mental performance standpoint, but just like coaching the game in general. And I'm haven't stepped into the coaching space yet. And I say yet because I feel like it's bound to happen, honestly. I don't know when, and I don't know where, but it's hard to step away from the game that you've been passionate about your whole life. And I think because it's given me so much in terms of like wealth in life, being able to travel the world and meet different people and experience different cultures and just develop me as a person in general, that I want to be able to provide similar, if not same, opportunities to younger girls and help them like build that network. What is it that I can do to help you become a better athlete, become a better person that's going to help you get from where you are now to where it is that you want to be in, you know, 1, 3, 5, 10 years, whatever it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember like some of the original names in the game that I had run into, and like I think of Kathy Pippy, for example, who ran West Coast Selects and East Coast Selects. She now has her own hockey company where they do like premier level tournaments. And one of my good friends who's coaching with me at Stonehill, we had her on the podcast. Megan Myers is from, she's from Vegas. And here in New York, we had a little girl come all the way from Las Vegas.
Damn.
And she was telling Megan about all the tournaments she's going to in Las Vegas this summer. And I looked at Megan and I said, could you imagine that when you were her age, traveling all the way to California to go play hockey on the weekends, that you'd be having a conversation with like a mini you saying like, oh yeah, there's this hockey tournament there. There's this hockey tournament there. Like the work
I'm curious,
that women have done.
like, I'm so curious because like I wasn't on the podcast when you had Megan on. So
Mhm.
so she like, was there like a lot of opportunity to be playing in Vegas when she was growing up? Because I feel like now that they
No.
have a team there, it makes like logically some more sense that there's more women in that area that are wanting to play and like more teams developing there. But
Yeah.
I feel like for her at her age, like before there was a team, like there must not have been very much.
No, they had one ice rink in town. Yeah, they had one ice rink in town.
Talk about against all the odds right there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. One ice rink. She started skating with like rental skates, and
Oh,
instead of shin pads, she wore catcher's equipment from baseball. So like,
that's
yeah, it's
amazing. That's
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah, and we're actually both going to be heading there to coach another camp. Like it's just amazing. She gets to go back home twice this summer to coach hockey camps.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's amazing.
Hockey in the desert is a thing now.
Which is like bonkers to me.
Yeah.
Like, I think I was 16 when I went to Vegas, and like all I remember is just like a lot of street lights and hot weather, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. Pavement that'll melt the soles off of your shoes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Freaking hot.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Okay, so like let's talk about camps then, because I mean we're
Hmm.
in the middle of summer. So there's a lot of people going to camps. I know one of my clients, she just drove all the way from Norway down to Italy for a camp, which was
God.
like crazy to me because I'm thinking it has to be cheaper to fly because gas prices are brutal right now. But I see that like flying is also, I mean, I know from experience, flying is also brutal right now.
Yeah.
But like, okay, let's talk about the importance of the summer camps. Okay,
Hmm.
should players be on the ice during the summer as much as they can? Should they be playing different sports, trying to kind of like still enjoy? I mean, I guess it depends on the age and stuff, but like, what are your thoughts in terms of the summer camps for young athletes?
I love summer camps personally because I think it gives athletes a specific set of time to go and play hockey in the summer.
Mm,
I think that continuing to play other sports is really, really important, and you should have time to do that. We had a couple girls like local from Lake Placid area that missed an evening skate because they were in a softball tournament
okay.
or a
Mm,
lacrosse tournament. I'm like, absolutely. Like you're on the ice for 3 hours a day. You can miss an hour and a half.
mhm.
It's not a big deal. But I think the way that the sport is moving now is going to favor people who play other sports because it's quick. It's extremely focused in transition.
Mhm.
It's all about like quick bursts of speed. And for D, especially, we've been talking about this a lot. It's not like this north and south game anymore. You want to figure out how to get north and south, but you also have to be agile and quick enough
To
to
go
move
east and
east west really
west.
quick.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So I think, and we actually talked about this with the girls because they were asking, like, well, if we want to specialize in hockey, like, when do you have to do it? I played other sports all the way through high school.
Mhm. Other
I think
sports
it's,
are an addition, in my opinion. I mean, we talked about this
yeah.
on the last episode as well when it comes to like off-season training and enjoying what you're doing and being able
Mhm.
to find a way to mix it up that's not only going to help you get better in a certain skill that you're looking to develop, but also ensuring that you're still enjoying the workouts that you're doing at the same time, right? Like I think
Yeah.
playing different sports is the same exact thing, just like on a different field.
Mhm. Yeah. And like, I mean, I get it. I remember when my brother was playing AAA hockey, they made them sign a thing that said they wouldn't play football. Like, I think I get that because the concussion rates in high school football are probably through the roof.
Yeah.
So, do I love the fact that like you're signing a contract to do that? No, but do it. It's probably responsible in some sense, I guess.
Well, I mean, every
But
hockey player is like told you can't go skiing. Like that was
yeah,
like what all of our coaches said.
yeah,
Don't ski. Okay. Well, there's a good reason for it, kids, and it's because it's high rate of dislocating knees, breaking legs, concussions, all that fun stuff. So yeah.
Taylor is speaking from experience.
Yes, I am.
But like playing softball or I mean, I know soccer is also pretty high for like knee issues, but like I played soccer through high school. I threw discus through high school, which I loved. I don't know. I just think like you got to give it a rest at some point. But I do appreciate that people actually love hockey so much that they don't want to go all summer without playing it.
Of course. Well, especially like
Yeah.
hockey's still a growing sport. Like as much as like we really have been immersed in this field for so many years, and the sport rather like like
oh, it's a field. It's a field.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But it's still a growing sport, especially on the women's side too, right? It's also one of the most expensive sports that you can possibly choose to play. So like access to equipment is very difficult in a lot of places, especially if it's not like a well-developed program, like that, all those things have to be taken into consideration, right? So I mean, the fact that hockey camps in the summer are becoming such a popular thing, I think it's a great thing. I think it's, for me also, like you should be doing this, especially as a goaltender, when you do have the opportunity to get into like a goalie camp. That is like the good stuff right there, because very rarely for any hockey team, I mean, maybe if you're at the professional level, maybe some universities, but very rarely do you have the opportunity to actually have one-on-one time with your goalie coach and work on shit that you need to work on, because every coach frames their hockey practice around what their players need to work on and not what their goalies need to work on.
Yeah.
So it's hard for goalies to really get the work that they need in terms of, okay, like this is a weakness for me, I want to work on this, but coach wants to work on, 2-on-1s on a rush or whatever the case is, right? Like you know,
coach wants to work on having pucks shot at my head.
Yeah, like it's target practice for coach, and here I am just like filling the void. But
yeah, absolutely. It's interesting though, right? Because I think like regardless of whether or not we're talking if camps are a good thing in the summer or if you should be playing full time in the summer, I think it depends on you. And if the athlete is at a point where they're feeling burnt out, take a break. It is not a requirement to play hockey in the summer.
No.
And that's where I'm saying, like, if you can play a different sport, do it.
Well, and I feel like we kind of touch on that topic a little bit every time we get on the mic and riff here, is like burnout and knowing your body well enough to say, okay, like I should or should not be doing this activity or exercise or whatever the case is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just like, there were a couple girls that were at camp this week that were so miserable. I was just like, why are you here? What are you like? They're not participating in drills. They're sitting out for all the activities that they do. Like these kids' days are full. They're up at like 7, 8 in the morning and they're in bed by 10:30. And everything in between that is something. And I was laughing one day because this one girl was so disengaged. I was like, why are you here? What do you, she goes, my parents made me come. And I was like, oh no.
Like part of you is like you have to appreciate like the parents like want their kids to like be involved and like have an opportunity to be at these camps. But then on the flip side, you're like, oh, parents, like don't force your kid to do something that they don't want to do, because they're gonna be miserable and they're gonna start to regret or resent like the sport itself. And that's the last thing that we want to be seeing in the girls that we're coaching.
Oh my God. Yeah. We even said to her, did you tell your parents you didn't want to come? She's like, no. It's like, maybe you want to try that next time, because this camp is not cheap.
Communication is key here, kids.
Communication is key, kids.
Oh God. Yeah.
It was funny. But I don't know. I think it's like with any kind of topic, we can give rule of thumb or our perspective, but at the end of the day, it's up to the athletes.
Well, and like that's why we preach the whole self-awareness thing so much, right? Is like
Yeah.
being able to know and understand yourself well enough to say that you do or don't or should or shouldn't be doing something that's going to either help you progress and move forward, or is going to hinder you and cause more problems than will provide solutions or benefits.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like a topic that we can actually dive deeper into in the future. I think that would be like, I mean, that's like the foundation for all of the work that we do, is like the self-awareness piece. So I think that would be a good idea moving forward. I was going to say something and it's kind of slipped from my brain here. So just give me a second.
There's the vacation brain. There it is.
Yeah, has not disappeared yet. Probably still like another week to get back into it.
But I think this does segue really well. And this is a thought that I had. If you're like an elite level athlete and you're not really sure what your next steps are, I think the off season is a huge time where that happens, because sometimes you get pulled in different directions, like especially when you're at that age where you're really starting to specialize. Like you might have that softball or soccer team that you've played for since you were a kid. And now you've got a trainer saying like, you need to really be focusing on this, and a coach that's giving you a program and all that kind of stuff. If you're like not 110% sure on what you want or what the next steps are, like we have to plug the brain training for athletes course.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I think that's huge. And I took the course when I was in high school, and it made so many things in my life that were huge question marks abundantly clear. Because once, it's like we're saying with the self-awareness piece, it's like once you figure out what's important to you and why, like why you value it, finding the answers to move forward is a lot easier.
Absolutely it is. I mean, like I wish that I had access to that program way before I did. For me, it came, was it like a year and a half ago now? I don't even know.
Dude, almost 2. That's the scary part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cause it was like just after the pandemic, I think. Like I don't know how you.
Taylor.
It's been like 2 years.
September is our 2-year friendiversary.
Oh my God. I have to get you a gift for our friendiversary.
I was just going over some of my old like notes and stuff because my storage is always low on my computer.
Same.
And I was like, oh shoot, like we're coming up on 2 years since we ran through that program.
That's craziness. Well, and like,
yeah,
I mean, I took it through like the coaching certification, but I also applied it as an athlete myself because I was still playing in Norway at that point. And like, it helped me to kind of like fine tune my game in areas where I knew it needed work, in terms of like, okay, tracking and measuring progress. Like, how is it that I set the small goals so I can see like week by week what needs to be done and what's doing better. And you know, as I've gone through the coaching and like gone through the high performance coaching certification, obviously it's been, and like moving countries and changing careers, like it's just a lot has happened in the last like year. And now it's a matter of, okay, like it's not like the small scale week to week stuff. This is like, okay, like developing a vision for your future. Like, what is it that you want to be seeing? And like applying those aspects of the program to my life now to see, okay, like what is it that I want to do moving forward? And that's a big one. And I know that kids like from, I would say like 15, 16 years old up into university could definitely benefit from having those tools in their toolbox to be able to get them through those big transitions in life, whether it's like you said, making the choice to, okay, like, do I stick with hockey or do I go and, you know, pursue something else that I'm also passionate about, or like choosing your major in school, or like choosing which school you're going to go to, if you have like fielding multiple offers, like there's so many different ways that that program can be implemented into various aspects of your life as an athlete.
Absolutely. I use it every day. Something that I learned from that course comes up in my life every single day. And the other thing that I think about while you were talking just now is like, to bring this whole conversation full circle, is the other great part about what this generation coming up has is they have access to these kind of mental resources. And now they have the mentors to have conversations with. Like they've got the female mentors in leadership roles that they can now look at and say like, oh my gosh, this is what she's doing. I think I love it. Maybe that's what I want to go and do. Right? Like, I think that's amazing.
Oh, it's invaluable. Absolutely. Like, I'm trying to think, like, I don't think I had any like female mentors in the hockey space when I was growing up. Like, I mean, there were like the big names in hockey, of course, that you saw, like Shannon Zabdos was like my idol as a kid because she was such an amazing goaltender. But like outside of that, like, I don't know, like there wasn't really a ton going on. But now that I'm, stepping more into the coaching space and I'm kind of able to do my own networking, and I look up, for example, like some goalies from like way back in the day, and I look them up on LinkedIn and I see that they're also like doing something similar to what we're not like the mindset coaching, but they're doing the mentoring, they're doing the public speaking, they're talking with the young generation, like especially of course the young like female generation, to inspire them to like pursue their passions and dreams in sport and show them like, if I can do it, you can also do it too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like when I think about even my role models, it's goes back to, I remember being in, oh my gosh, I think it was in Finland. And it was the first time that I ever got to watch a women's game live. And it was Women's Worlds. And I got a picture with like Jillian Apps was my favorite player growing up. Female player anyways. And then I got a picture with her and Jana Hefford. And like now being in the PWHPA, I have conversations with Jana, once a month or whatever. And it's just like, I found this picture the other day and I was like, holy cow, that was the first and only time that I ever got to see like my mentors play. And now like U18s was just on ESPN and TSN.
Yeah, we never got around to talking about that. Like that's a huge milestone as well.
Huge. Absolutely huge. And I think honestly, we need a whole other session for that, because I have a client at 1:00.
Dang. But, okay. We got to get you off here then.
Yeah. But like, that's the whole nature of this, right? Is like, we can go down 1,000 rabbit holes at like why it is so freaking important to have women in leadership roles. Like it's so important for these young girls to see where they can go, and beyond just having them in the role, have them visible in the role. So like having U18s being broadcast on TV, having these announcements of employment positions being announced on social media where everybody can see it, seeing that these organizations who are male dominated value it is so important. And it does so many great things for, like, I think the impact is greater than even what they can expect right now.
Oh, absolutely. Like it gives me chills when I think about it. So I can, it must give everybody else the same reaction, if not more. But I think that's a good note to kind of close off. So one, you can skip out and get to your client on time. But two, I think it's also good to kind of plug in here that for any athletes that listen to our podcast, if you are interested in any of the mental performance training that we offer, whether that's one-on-one or the group programming, just go to www.elitehighperformance.com. You can find us under the athlete coaching tab there, or you can also go to the online programs and you can take a look at the information for the brain training for athletes program. We're currently in the midst of kind of revamping that entire program. So I think hopefully in the future, we'll be able to run like a group program.
Oh, it's going to be killer. It's going to be so good.
And yeah, so any listeners that want to inquire, learn more, reach out to either Lauren or myself on Instagram or via email. All of that information is down below in the show notes for you guys. And as always, a signing off request. If you found this episode to be of value, please share it with a friend, like, rate, review, all of that fun stuff. It's going to help the podcast grow, reach new audiences, and help other women in sports just like yourself.
Women supporting women.
That's the theme. Hashtag women supporting women.
I love it.